Hey guys, it's Claire, and for a moment we have Rio on set, and I'm gonna just make some lunch for me and my dad and show you guys this is my first cooking YouTube video. Okay, so I'm making lunch for my dad and myself, and I kind of just have some stuff in the fridge to work with, so I'm gonna show you all the ingredients and then tell you what I'm thinking about making. Open it up. Okay, so the main thing we're working with is vegetables. I have this cabbage, this big bag of carrots, and these mushrooms that I got last week at the farmer's market. And what's fun about them is they're shiitake mushrooms, but at least at my farmer's market, they're not usually this big. And they said they were this big because they grew them outside instead of inside. I'm not a mycologist or a mushroom expert, but I thought that was pretty cool. So what I'm thinking of doing is we're gonna cook these carrots, add these in maybe like kind of more crispy, and then make a slaw with this, and then we're gonna do like a chickpea curry. One thing to know about me is I don't usually cook with a recipe, so people always be like, Claire, recipe. I use this video more as just guidance of how to get creative on your own. I do have recipes on my blog and TikTok, www.clairecancook.com. But yeah, that's what we're going for. So we're gonna do some chopping. I'll probably time-lapse some chopping, and we'll just cook together. Okay, so got these roughly chopped up shiitakes, and I'm gonna throw them in my Dutch oven. So, putting just mushrooms in the pot, and then we're just gonna do some olive oil and garlic salt, get these going on the stove. Okay, now for the cabbage. We are not gonna use this whole thing. I think maybe a half or a quarter. And cabbage was never a huge part of my life, especially like this, just buying a whole cabbage. But when I was on Knowles, which was the wilderness semester, I did my second semester of college, they rationed us food. And because it was like we were backpacking, kayak camping, you had the same food supply for maybe 10 or 12 days. And they would give us vegetables, but a cabbage is something that lasts really well outside of the fridge, as opposed to maybe like broccoli would get super soft. And so they gave us cabbage, and I just learned so many different ways to cook with cabbage. It's really now has a soft spot in my heart. I love to cook it, but I think I'm gonna keep it raw for a crunchy slaw. And so let's get chopping. Now listen to this. Pretty good. And when I was in the backcountry, we'd have to use like a Swiss Army knife, or I mean, some people had nicer knives, but being able to cut it with a big knife like this is so satisfying. This is from the farmer's market, but you also can get the shredded bag from Trader Joe's. Is super good if you are not an expert with your knife skills, as I am not, but we're trying our best for this slaw. Okay, I'm gonna get this a bowl, and we're gonna slaw it up. I made cabbage slaw a couple of times when I was on Knowles, and I'm gonna just try to remember the ingredients I used there. It was very limited what we had. You just had like a little kit of spices that were in these little containers. Maybe I have a container I can show you that shows the type of container we had. So I have these for when I go camping. This is just a little container of, I think, salt. And so imagine you maybe had 8 of these containers, like salt, pepper, garlic powder, soy sauce, all just packed up with us camping that we would take with us. And that was all we had to like season our food. And so some of my cooking has like become kind of minimal sometimes because of what I've learned like backcountry cooking. But let me show you some stuff. So apple cider vinegar was something we did have in the backcountry, so put in a little of that in. This will just give us a little taste. I also sometimes use rice vinegar, but because I've been talking about my Knowles cooking, I'll just tell you what we had. salt. And then we also had we had white sugar and brown sugar. I just have a little sugar jar here on the counter and I can't find the bag of white sugar, so I'm just gonna do this right out of the jar. This just interacts with the like salty, acidic to do some sweet. I'm sure you guys could all guess that. And then just gonna mix this all with a fork. And this is just this really simple topping for a curry type of dish. We're all just doing based on vibes, not a recipe. Once again, do a little more vinegar. And then it's nice to have like a little oil to balance everything out. And I got this harissa olive oil. All right, harissa. I got this at like up in Sebastopol, which is near wine country. There's a like big artisan mall or local mall that's all like local shops and breweries and stuff. Got that there, and the olives were literally grown down the road. I eat that stuff up, guys. Okay, I also just found this Marcona almonds that I think are just left over from like, I have no idea, and I think almonds can add a really nice crunch, and these are like kind of oily, but I'm just gonna also just roughly chop these to add into the slaw because I think almonds are really good. And we just need to use the random ingredients we have in the house because that's kind of the birthplace of this meal, where it came from. So this, we're just gonna let it sit until the rest of the other cooking is done. And you can do something much more fancy. You can use kimchi or anything for your crunch. This is just a super simple slaw. I've been teasing the curry. What's going in the curry? I've been mentioning curry. Well, this is another thing that I kind of have learned from camping, not from Knowles, but, and this is probably obvious, but curry paste is so helpful because you can like buy all the ingredients to make curry from scratch, but when it's made in a paste, you only need one ingredient and you don't need to really get all the other spices. Super helpful. And so this is the Public Goods curry. This was gifted to me. I already like did the campaign that this was a part of, but that was a gift by the brand. Garbanzo beans and coconut milk. And we have the mushrooms going in the Dutch oven. We're gonna put this all in with those. So let's take a look. We're gonna start putting everything all together. Okay, I wish you could smell the total umami we have going with these mushrooms. They are just so good looking. And I also, carrots are done. So this is what we had at the beginning of the video. We're putting this all together. Nice. Coconut milk. Okay, heaping spoonful of that curry. Star of the show, chickpeas. This is a very like vegan meal. If you can't tell, I'm vegan. So this we're gonna turn up the heat a little bit and just let this bubble all together. Not much to it. I'm gonna cover this up. So we'll see it in a few minutes. It's steaming, it's bubbling, it's done. I'm gonna do some plating now. Sometimes when I just don't feel like making rice from scratch, I do use this microwave rice from Trader Joe's. And as I said, I'm making this for 2 people, for me and my dad. So I'm gonna just split this between these 2 bowls. And now I will be scooping some up. Over back here. So we have the bowls here. Now we're just doing some of the slaw. And there we go. And that is lunch.